Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success. This is the pivotal episode number 275. I want to welcome everybody on this Wednesday morning. We're talking this morning about relationships, families, and some life coaching type situations. A little bit of brief news this morning. We're going to keep it short because we're trying a new format with Fuel for Success, and that new format is we're going to compress the show and try to execute this entire show in 11 minutes. So I want to welcome my co-host and speed talker, Matt Maddox. How are you this morning, sir?
Hey, 11 minutes. You introduced me, Mike, in Canada to the 11-minute nap. I never knew it existed, and it's changed my life. So now let's see if the 11-minute show can change people's lives, my friend. So this is Fuel for Success, where Mike and I do a live Q&A. Feel free to answer questions, and we'll give as much as we can in 11 minutes. We're here every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. To just give practical coaching and, wisdom or, experience and what have you. So let's get started, Mike, and give us some of the questions that have came. By the way, today is our show about family and relationships, of course. So here we go.
Yeah. Hey, so let me ask you this. Can you share some ideas that you might have to use in how can you use the right questions to get family and friends to open up in communication?
Mike, here's the deal, man. I use these kind of questions. For example, like Caleb, when you ask the right question, it tells you a lot that you need to know. So if I'll say, hey, Caleb, of all of Dad's friends, who's the kindest to you? Who are the top 3 people that's been the kindest to you of all of Dad's friends? Well, that is a good question because it tells me a lot. I'll say, hey, of all of our family members, who's the most encouraging? Who would you say are the top 3 most encouraging? Of all your baseball, I asked this just the other day. Hey, of all your baseball coaches, who are the top 3 that you like the most? Of all the kids, I asked this yesterday. Hey, of all the kids that you play baseball with, name the top 3 that have the best attitudes. Of all your friends, name the top 2 that have the best attitudes. You know what I'm saying? Of all your school teachers, who are you can learn so much by asking those kind of questions. Case in point, going to, marriage, you can, if you're thinking on being more romantic, you can, and randomly, you got to learn how to sneak it in, and you can get so much information. Like you can ask your spouse on a coffee date, hey, so of all your friends, who would you say are the top 3 husbands that treat them the best, and what do they do that you like? I mean, you can learn so much, little things. See, there's so much wisdom that's just dropped that a lot of us miss because we're not asking strategic, interesting questions. Let's say you're dating somebody. I'm not talking about first date. You're dating somebody. You say, hey, what are probably the top 2 or 3 most romantic proposes you've heard of or you've seen or you've read about? Well, the answers will tell you everything. The answers will tell you, hey, you know what? She hasn't seen too much. So you're in good shape. Or the answer is like, whoa, I've got to really have my A game on to keep up with this, your friend, like, hey, what are the top, Mike, using strategic questions help you in your relationships. What about you?
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, I like just to reiterate the concept of using the top 3, top 5, and being creative, leaving it sort of open-ended. And I like to ask people's opinions of things because people aren't afraid to give opinions. Like rather than, hey, what's the best way to blah blah blah? It's like, hey, in your opinion, what do you think is the best way? Is a lot more opening and of a question rather than so they're not like faced with, I got to get this right because your opinion can't be wrong. It's just your opinion. So kind of phrase it in the form of, hey, what's your opinion on this? What do you think about this? And I love the format of like top 3, top 5. So great advice there. Let me just jump on to the next question because we're already 4 minutes and 30 seconds in an 11-minute show. I'm a little bit stressed to get everything in. I'm okay. Don't worry about me. But
we got this. We got
this. And just to remind everyone, too, you can interact live or email, text us, mike@mattmaddox.com, 727-341-5599. Get your questions in. We'll get them in on a future show. And let me ask you this. Someone that watches the show we could all have better people skills. You're watching this show, you're like, man, I could really use better people skills. I want to hone those skills. What's your best advice to someone that really wants to develop better people skills?
Okay, I'll give you 3 quick tips that I have found to be amazing. Well, first of all, everyone must read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
Number 2,
100%.
I will tell everyone that if you want to get better at people skills, be a positive person. Be one that's encouraging, that speaks life, that has a good sense of humor. In other words, you don't take life too serious. You don't get mad easily. You be understanding. The more understanding you are about I believe believe the best about people. Most people believe the worst. Believe the best. Believe that people mean well. And then, I love this right here, what Carol said. Admit if you're wrong. Is she talking about our show or people skills?
I think she's saying, admit that you can get better, first of all. I think that's what she's saying.
Show interest, man. Show interest. Like kids on my baseball team, I don't just say, how was your day? I'll ask them, hey, who's your favorite teacher? Again, going back to good questions. What kind of stuff do they feed you in the lunch? What's the best lunch they give you? Do you pack a lunch? Just stuff like that. Who's your favorite baseball player? Tells me a lot about kids. It just all goes back to asking questions and showing interest. If I want to connect with Mike, I'd say, hey, how'd you and Carol's date go for your anniversary? What'd y'all do? Was the food good? How's your kids been doing? How's Henry doing? Speak to things that are of interest to Mike, and that's going to help me better connect with him.
Plus, it'll give you opportunity to learn more about them, deepen the relationship, and those sort of things. I would add to that, of course, the more genuine you are in your interest, the better off it is. And if you're not genuinely interested in other people, you're going to have a hard time relating to them. So cultivate that interest and cultivate a desire to learn about people and understand people a little bit better. So
I like what Katrina said. Show interest in others and not talking about yourself, and that's huge. And as you know, that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. But that's for another show.
Yes, and that's why it's so important to read Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You'll get a very
people
strong
shouldn't be able to get a driver's license without reading that book. People shouldn't be there should be strict rules in this society for people that don't read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Good. Hey, I like Pacey's comment here. Fantastic question that somebody asked her. She was speaking about a situation on the surface, and the question that was presented was, what does that look like, right? She said, hey, I was facing this challenge, and the question was, what does that look like, right? Interrogating, getting a little bit deeper, like under the surface, what does that feel like? What is that all about? And that's a great open-ended question to open that relationship, open that conversation.
Good stuff, Pacey.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, let me ask you this. What are 3 things that you absolutely should not do in relationships? Let's call them the 3 no's.
Well, first of all, you should never show disrespect, no matter what. Disrespect closes all relationships. It destroys intimacy. It hinders progress. Even in disagreement, don't show disrespect. What our grandmas used to say, you can disagree without being disagreeable. Number 2 is you should never attack somebody. I had something happen here recently where somebody heard that I said something that I really didn't say. I really didn't say it. And I said, look, I would shoot you straight. I'm a grown man. If I really said it, I would look you in your eye and tell you I said it, and I would say it. But because I didn't say it, they continued to well, this person wouldn't lie. And I said, well, they just did. They may not have in the past, but they just did, because I'm an open book. If I said it, I'm going to open my mouth and tell you I said it and say it. I have no problem. I don't play those little petty games. The pettiness has got to stop in those type of relationships. Another relationship no is dishonesty, lying. That destroys relationships. Bam, like that. Speaking the truth at all times, 100% of the time. 100% literally means 100%. So we got a minute left, Mike. What would you add into that, man?
You know, I had a great thought, and it fleetingly left me because I was concerned about the time. I like what Carol said, though. Don't disregard someone else's feelings just because you don't agree with them. I 100%, you know, jump on board with that answer. And Pacey's mentioning being judgmental, which is also something that you want to avoid. You know, I think here's what I was going to say. One thing that I would say don't do in a relationship is don't jump to conclusions. Make sure that the Bible says, you know, hear the end of the matter. So hear the whole thing.
Please.
Figure out where you're at, what's actually going on. I've made big mistakes by jumping at conclusions, thinking I knew what was going to happen, thinking I knew the situation, assuming, saying things that were damaging and created collateral damage and all kinds of things, rather than figuring out what the actual situation was and dealing with it properly. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just wait.
Good stuff,
And that
Mike.
can be fun.
So the good news is you and I talk every Wednesday about family and relationships. We're out of time today, but we'll be back next Wednesday. Think of questions, my friend. All you got to do is email Mike@mattmaddox.com, Matt@mattmaddox.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Matt Maddox or Mike Hopkins. Go to iTunes and download our previous. Hey, if you needed more of what we talked about today, we've got 274 episodes that you can go back and listen to. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Fuel for Success on YouTube. I love what Katerina said, never assume. That should be the quote of the day. Always find the best in everyone. Good stuff, Mike. Hey, enjoyed the 11-minute show. Go take you an 11-minute nap, make you an 11-minute juice, take you an 11-minute swim, have an 11-minute chat with your wife. Do it all in 11 minutes. Read a chapter in 11 minutes, my friends. Hey, we love you guys. Mike and I will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 EST to talk more about life, business, finances, family, relationships, you name it. 11 minutes. God bless, my friends. We'll see y'all tomorrow at 9:30 EST. Thanks for joining with us live, and we will be back.
See y'all tomorrow.